Do you always kind of wonder if you're practicing in an effective manner when you're working on your American English accent? Then stay tuned because I'm going to give you some good ways to make the most of your practice time. Hey there, I'm Lori with Pronunciation Pro, and this is the third in my series of videos on frequently asked questions. I figure that if I'm getting these questions from my students on a regular basis, then probably lots of other learners are wondering about the same things. So I'll be answering these questions one by one in these videos. Today's question involves the specifics of your daily practicing. How can you practice in a way that's going to be most effective? So let's cover the most basic aspect of this question first, and that's time. How long should I practice every day? And my answer to that question is twofold. First of all, it would be great if you could devote a minimum of 20 to 30 minutes per day to practicing your spoken English. However, language learners can sometimes tend to be perfectionists. And if there's one thing that's super common about perfectionists, it's that mindset of, if I can't do it perfectly, then I'm not going to do it at all. So what happens is that you will have days when other things come up that are beyond your control, and you only have 10 minutes, for example, to spend practicing your English. You are going to be tempted to not do anything at all that day, but I want to encourage you with that principle that something is better than nothing. So if you have a day like that, just do 10 minutes of practice. And if you have a day where you can't practice at all, then get right back on that wagon and resume your practicing the next day. Don't let it derail you for days or weeks on end because you missed a day or two. And on the flip side of that, if you have a day when you don't have too many commitments, then add on a little practice time. Maybe this means on the weekends you can practice for an hour each day. In other words, don't be too rigid about how long you're practicing every day. It's more important to establish consistency, but daily consistency, not just saving it for the weekends. Changing your accent involves changing speaking habits, and it's pretty much impossible to change a habit if you only work on it on the weekends. So now let's talk about your actual practice session. I would encourage you to start with listening and imitation practice. So important. So this involves finding an audio or video of a native speaker you like and shadowing their speech, trying to imitate them as exactly as you can. The pause button is going to be your friend here, so you can just copy one phrase at a time if the sentence is really long. I really advise my students to find sources that also have transcripts so you can follow along with the printed words while you're listening to and imitating the native speaker. Some good sources that have both audio and written content are TED Talks. You can view a transcript for most TED Talks. Audiobooks along with the printed form of the same book. So get the audiobook and get the printed copy and use them simultaneously. Famous speeches on YouTube, because if the speech is famous, there will be a transcript for it on the web. And also sites like newsinslowenglish.com, which is very helpful because the speaker is not talking at a fast rate and you also have a transcript. You might find other sources that you like as well. The important thing is that you're not just imitating the speaker's pronunciation of the sounds. You're raising your pitch when they do. You're stretching out the same syllables that they do, and you're getting louder when they get louder. In other words, you're mimicking the music of the language. And quality is far better than quantity here. I would rather have my students listen to and imitate only one paragraph with focused attention than to go through several pages in a rush. You should most definitely be listening to American English on a daily basis in the form of podcasts, audiobooks, radio, TV shows, movies, etc. And that listening practice can be done without setting aside a specific practice time. But make sure you are also spending time on imitation practice on a regular basis. After you do your listening and imitation practice, I would suggest practicing your problem words. Keep a list of words that you often have to repeat for people, words that have been pointed out to you by a native speaker as being incorrectly pronounced or incorrectly stressed, words that you know you habitually say incorrectly, and words that are just really difficult for you to say at a normal speed. Practice these words briefly at the isolated word level, and then go right into putting them into phrases and sentences that you make up, because we don't speak in isolated words. Don't write down these phrases and sentences, make them spontaneous, and use different phrases and sentences each day. This is how you're going to make a new habit for those words. Once a word is no longer a problem word, you can drop it off your list, but only when you no longer mispronounce it in connected speech. The third part of your practice routine should be spontaneous speech practice. Give yourself a topic to talk on for about 30 seconds to 1 minute. Possible topics could be where you want to go on vacation, the movie you saw last weekend, the reason you enjoy your favorite hobbies, or whatever. No one is going to hear this but you, so the topic isn't important. It just needs to be a topic you can speak on for 30 seconds to 1 minute. Record yourself while you do this, and then listen to your recording. Listen for problem sounds, problem words, places where you sounded choppy, and so forth. Now, no one likes to hear their own voice on a recording, so my students are usually hesitant to do this one, but it's an essential thing to do in order to develop self-awareness. Otherwise, you will always be dependent on someone else to point out errors for you. Now, if you have a day where you can't get to all 3 of these practice strategies, just do what you can. I mentioned them in order of importance. So the most important is the listening and imitation practice. Next is working on your problem words so you can make new habits for them. And finally, recording yourself in spontaneous speech and then listening to that recording. If you're already participating in a structured pronunciation program like Pronunciation Pro, many of these steps are already included as part of the program. But if you want to do even more and make your practice more interesting and relevant to you, a great add-on to your daily practice time would be to join a language exchange. In these mostly online groups, you'd be paired with a native English speaker who also wants to learn your native language. So you converse with each other, taking turns being the student, and help each other out. Not only does it make learning the language a lot more fun because it's a non-judgmental atmosphere, but you get to meet new people that you would never otherwise talk to. A friend of mine, Amadou, runs a language exchange, and I'm going to post the link to access this in the comments section below in case you're interested in trying it out. Finally, I just want to remind you that correcting an accent is a marathon, not a sprint. You need to have a long-term mindset about this. Remember that the reason native speakers sound good to you is that they've been practicing this language for their entire lives. You have been saying some of these sounds and words incorrectly for a long time, and it takes time to make new habits for those sounds and words. So be patient with yourself and be consistent with your practice, and you will notice improvement over time. If you've found this information helpful, please like my video and subscribe to my channel. Now, maybe you don't really know what your problem sounds are and you need an assessment from a professional to identify them. I offer a full accent assessment that would help to clarify this for you and give you a very clear understanding of the sounds and skills you need to focus on in your daily practice. And if you'd like some personalized help on correcting your pronunciation, I would love to work with you. I've posted a link in the comments section below that will give you more information on those options. In the meantime, happy practicing, and I'll see you in the next video.